Well, guys, welcome to the and just the quality that we've got in front of us right here. I think it's hard to understand because we go 6 deep in this class with a lot of good in them. If we start at this top end and just talk about how do we put together a goat from a skeletal correctness standpoint that's set back far enough in the knee, we're wide enough in that chest floor, yet we're not outside ourselves in the shoulder. That shoulder assembly and how we tie that neck into this young man's doe kid here is absolutely phenomenal. When I'm in the trenches every day and trying to make goats and breed goats to look like this, these don't come along very often, and this is pretty cool. Let's go from there back into her upper rib. Tremendous in terms of her upper rib shape. She handles with enough muscle down her top. She's good out through her hip. I love how she's athletic out here. To me, she's the best proportion, the structurally most correct one. But guess what? We've got some deadly ones standing behind her. The one in second, if you put your hands on this thing, she is absolutely massive. And in terms of just with the rack, her shape down her top, her loin, her hip, her pin set. She's big featured. She's all of those things. Does she come just a touch further forward in her knee than where I would like her to be? Yes, and that's being very critical because I'll grab a hold of one like this and put a lot of breeding value in that particular individual. Not quite as cool where her neck ties into her shoulder, maybe is the one that wins, but I tell you what, to put that kind of rib cage, that kind of chest width, still stay inside themselves in the shoulder, there's a lot of good in here, and we're picking on some very minor details only because we've got such a high-end one to win the class. Same as what we have in third, guys. I'll tell you what, if you stand right in front of them, she's the widest probably chested, but that almost works to a detriment to me. She's coming outside herself ever so slightly. Get her off in the profile, beautiful up through her neck. I think she's shown and fit exceptionally well. When I get her hands on her, she's probably not as big topped as the one right in front of her. She's probably not as genuine in terms of just her natural thickness and width as we come from her shoulder back into her top and out into that hip. But wow, look at that front end in terms of her neck set. Look at her levelness of lines. To me, when we ask her to go into motion, we loosen up a little in her shoulder. She wants to twist and roll just a little more than ideal off that right hind leg, but really high-end kind of goats. Coming next are black and white, one that's maybe not in this class, not as highly presented down to the detail as what we have up there, but I'll tell you what, here's one that's made right in the shoulder, rib cage, handles with a tremendous amount of muscle. This young man does a nice job of getting this one propped up. We've got a little hair discoloring that takes away ever so slightly, but an awfully high-end one to be this low in class. Likewise, a young lady just in front of us. Guess what? Here's one, again, we keep sounding like a broken record, but if you want to study upper rib shape and big tops and big backs, she's got it. She's a little more jammed up right there in her neck, maybe doesn't want to get out and take that real long athletic stride, but everything else is there. Extremely impressive. And we come down to the end, young man, you've gotten a very deep class because I'll take this doe and show her every day when we get your hands on her. She's wide enough. She's not maybe just massive when she comes out of her rack. She gets just a little bit plainer up through her shoulder, maybe not quite that show ring appeal that we found in those wild profiling ones, but this is one that you get back to the basics and fundamentals, she does well. As they head back to the barn, let's put our hands together if you would, please.
Results of the second class of lightweights. 6th place went to Blake Bichelle. 5th place, Tassie Joe Fadley. 4th place, Dylan Bichelle. 3rd place, Paisley Kelso. 2nd place, Paisley Atkins. And the winner is Brock Morvette. 1st and 2nd of each of those classes will come back in for the champion drive of the lightweights.
It's always a blast when you get to do a show of this caliber, and you get kids from all over the country that can show. And I truly mean that. You know, there's not a lot of stock shows anymore that just all the kids from the country can come. And I don't know where they're from, but you truly get the best of the best. And I hope you guys ringside can look into this ring and appreciate the quality of livestock you're seeing, because I think there's 4 individuals not only that are good show animals, but can truly go on and make the next generation better of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And when you truly break them down, I think there's a pair of them that just sort to the top because they just put together so well. They meet your hand with so much muscle, and you can feel that on both sides of that spine so consistently. If you would do me a favor, give a humongous round of applause. I'm about to shake your champion in reserve hand.
Champion lightweight goes to Brock Morvette, and your reserve champion, Paisley Atkins. Next in the ring is the first class of middleweights. First class of middleweights. Champion and reserve champion will come back in for grand. Champion and reserve, come back in for grand. Ready to try a delicious change? Serve your family American lamb from Superior Farms. There are so many ways to enjoy lamb with the easy recipes at superiorfarms.com. Weaver Livestock is committed to helping you be the very best you can be. Stop by their booth between the Junior Barn and Stadium Arena to check out their full line of show supplies backed by industry experts. Weaver is devoted to fueling your enthusiasm for showing livestock with innovative products here at the National Western Stock Show. The Colorado Farm Show is one of the largest and oldest farm shows in the nation, and the tradition continues January 28th, 29th, and 30th at Island Grove Park in Greeley, Colorado. See the latest agricultural equipment, visit over 300 exhibitors, attend the free seminars with more than 60 engaging speakers, and network to create long-lasting connections. For more info, go to coloradofarmshow.com.
Once again, another powerful class to talk and to evaluate, and it's been fun to have somebody out here and discuss these females with them. And I think we're leading off with a pair of them up here that I think are awfully, awfully good. That doe that just starts off, she just, you get your hands on top of her, and you can't be anything but impressed. Way she proportions that meat to flesh ratio for me. I think she goes from her shoulder to her forearm so smoothly and just down her top with the appropriate condition. And I'll be honest with you, I really like how she's designed on her structure. I don't think she does anything to lose the integrity when she's in motion. For me, like I told you before, I like to use the term balance, and I think she balances up awfully well for me. The doe in second's awfully close, and there was we had some talk. I don't think she meets my hand with as fresh of a back as that doe we started the class off with. I don't know if she's as fancy in the motion as that doe we started off with, but that's being picky on a very powerfully constructed doe. I love the shoulder. I love the forearm in this one. I think she gets a great top in her. I don't know if she handles as fresh right down her back as that one we started the class off with, but I think she's put together skeletally wise, awfully nice, and pattern's very good for me as well. Nice little doe coming in third, just a really complete doe that in relation to those other two just doesn't handle with the power or the dimension of meat from right out of her shoulder back down her top line. I don't know if she handles as fresh as well, but man, that one from a silhouette side and from a profile side does so many things correct. I like that about it. The young man's doe coming out next, similar in terms of profile, like a lot of things. She kind of falls apart on me when she gets out in motion. I don't know if she's as strong in her top and her back line, and that to me, from what I like, I don't know if that helps her in her balance situation out any better. I do like her angle to that where she sits back a little bit farther in that front leg placement, but I'd just like to fix her in that top line. Another nice goat coming out next. I love the body volume and the upper curvature to that rib cage. Blown apart as well as anything. Love the hair coat in this one. You get your hands on her, you're certainly not disappointed. Within this class, I don't know if we're as dense in our overall structure. I don't know if we're as fresh in our top line or the overall muscle volume, but there again, guys, I'm telling you on a goat that still has a tremendous amount of quality all the way through. Very intriguing goat coming out next. So many things I like about this one. I'm going to tell you that I probably like structure more than most people. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough with the way she sets those front 2 feet down, the way that front shoulder, it wings out a little bit, just gets a little bit coarser there for me than I'd like, and it throws off her balance for me. But in terms of a profile, design, and look, sweetheart, you have one that draws my attention all day long. Young lady's big woolly goat coming out next. Man, she's got a ton of hair. I wish I could borrow some of it. Love the width that she looks like she has. Love the curvature to that upper skeleton. When you get your hands on her, I don't know if there's as true much meat there as we'd like to see. I'd just like to just power her up overall. But sweetheart, when she's standing there, she looks great the way you have her presented. Nothing to take away from your doe, sweetheart. Just in this class, we're going to get outpowered in overall muscle mass and volume. But the silhouette, the balance, and the mobility in that one is up there with the best of them. I wish you the best of luck. And once again, let's give all those exhibitors a round of applause as we get ready for this next class.
Results of class. 8th place went to Alexa Johnson. 7th, Tassie Joe Fadley. 6th place, Dakota Thurman. 5th place went to Ashley Webble. 4th place, Colton Kohler. Bella Campbell was 3rd. 2nd, and we'll come back in for the champion drive, is Paisley Kelso. And first in the middleweight, first class of middleweights, is JC Falkenstein. Next in the ring, second class of middleweights. Second class of middleweights next in the ring. We'll have division champion right behind this class. First and second out of that first class, come back in, selection of the champion division 2. Champion division 2, or champion division middleweight, be selected upon completion of this class. Superior Farms is committed to the care of the flock. Our employee owners believe good things come from putting the flock first. Get the story at superiorfarms.com.
Well, those of you ringside, I apologize. We took a little longer here. We don't have a lot of does in the show here tonight, so we're not rushing through it and going to make sure that every kid gets a good look. I'll tell you what, we've got every size and shape that you can imagine out here, and it's not difficult to evaluate exactly what's in front of us in terms of their skeletal build, in terms of their natural thickness, in terms of their body shape, in terms of their show ring appeal. All of those things are there, but when you have goats that are vastly different, you have to combine, bring all those things together in your mind and figure out where your priorities are going to lie. And I think we can go a lot of different ways, because guess what? We've got 4, maybe 5 goats. We can even go 6 deep where we can stick an EST where that goat may be the best in one area. And that makes it a challenge, because I tell you what, there's people in this class way down in line. They didn't come to the National Western thinking they're going to stand 3rd, 4th, or 5th, because these are pretty good animals. Let's talk about the goat that wins. This one grew on me the longer the class wore on. There is no question, when we get our hands on her, she's probably the most appealing in terms of how strong she comes out of her shoulder into her rack. She's big back. She's transitioned really well in her loin. She comes back into a wide pin set. Get her on the profile. Notice she's big featured. She's still pretty cool necked. And when she gets off this one, she's kind of got a freak neck to her. So she's got that freak show ring appearance. She's good enough in terms of her skeletal build. She has extra feature, and she's one of the ESTs in terms of muscle. I don't think we need the heaviest muscled every time by any means. I think we need to focus in our industry a little more on skeleton and quality, but she does that as well, so we're not going to discount her by any means for being that muscular. Let's look at the one in second. She's no question the one you love on the profile. She's your elevated one in her chest floor. She's long in terms of her body. She's good in her hip. She's got a lot of things going for her. She surprises me because I didn't think she's going to handle with a lot to her, but she has a pretty big back and a pretty big loin in her. When I get back off of her, she wants to get a little flatter sided. I want to open that rib cage up just a little bit relative to some of the others in class. But I tell you what, from a skeletal standpoint, from a balance standpoint, there's a lot of positives that come here. I want to make her more robust. I want to make her bigger bodied. I want to make her rounder bodied. 2 really good ones. Time out and let's study this one in third. And I can think back to when we've got a lot of judging teams that are heading to the banquet right now. If you want to prop this one up just like this young lady has it, and she is a phenomenal showman, this one's very, very hard to pick apart standing right there, because you know what? She's one of the widest chested. She's one of the biggest ribbed. She's got a good top in her, not the most muscular, but more than enough. You get around behind her, she's fit immaculately. To look at that shape to her hip, I know a lot of it's hair, but I tell you what, that's part of it, and they've done a super job with her. Now let's talk about the downside, because everything I've said so far, she can win the class, and she can win it easy. I think she's a little outside herself in her shoulder. She wants to wing out right there in her elbow, and I get a little concerned on her hind legs, especially on her right rear. She wants to get a little softer in her pastern and really twist that, and consequently, because of how her front end's put together and her rear end, she's a little shorter strided going around. Can we say she's acceptable in movement? And I wouldn't argue with you and take her all the way to first. Absolutely, because there's a lot of good things there. Excellent doe, young lady. Coming into our doe in fourth. Let's stand back and look at one. I'm a sucker for a freak front end and a cool neck and a cool shoulder. She has it. She doesn't have the skin and hair coat some of these others do, but let's get down to the basics, and that is a really correctly built one up through that front end. Her shoulder assembly, where she sets her front knee, all of it's good. Does she have as big of a rib cage in her as a couple others? Probably not. She wants to pinch in her loin a little bit. I think still acceptable. I'm not beating her because she doesn't have quite enough muscle. Would I like more? Yes. When I get behind her, she wants to come together so close in terms of her track at the ground. If we could just open her up a little bit, I'd get more excited. But that's a good one, young man. I think there's a lot of unique pieces right there. Boom, guess what? When I came up and put my hands on this goat, this one's the biggest right out of her shoulder into her rack. She's monster in her upper rib cage. I love all of that. She's big enough footed. She's big enough featured. Is she a little jammed up through her front end? Maybe a little bit shorter in her hip. Maybe a little bit shorter in her stride. All of those things just a little. She just got into a class with some unique pieces that she has to fight with. Congratulations, young man. Likewise, if you want to talk about a big featured goat, a big footed goat that still has a ton of muscle and a ton of rib cage, this one does it. I don't know if she's perfect in her shoulder assembly. I don't know if she's perfect in her hip and hind leg, but I tell you what, she's not far off. and she's really good where her positives are. They're way out there good, and I congratulate that young lady for bringing a nice one to us. We're going to come down to 3 more that, if you study skin and hair coats, are not as perfect as maybe some of the others. But guess what? It's not all about skin and hair. And if we stop and study all 3 of these, they have some growth and performance behind them. They're elevated enough. They have some good in them. They're not as massive. They're not as opened up in their rib, but they're still good quality goats that have some skeleton to them. Let's put our hands together, if you would, please, for these young people.
Results of the second class of middleweights. In 9th place, Colby Rogers. 8th place went to Alexa Johnson. 7th place, Casey Quang. 6th place, Blair Sanchez. Brantley Went was 5th. Zane Downey was 4th. Paisley Kelso was 3rd. 2nd, and they'll come back in for champion drive, is Kobe Scroggins. And the winner of the second class of middleweights was Addison Thompson, and they also will come back in for the champion drive, which is coming in the ring at this time.
We get back out here for our champion middles, and Dale and I are certainly impressed with these individuals. And like I said in that lightweight, man, I'm positive these four were going to go home and make the next generation so much better and then get to come back and make the quality of stock shows even better. And then that in turn makes it a more quality for our youth out here to show. And man, I think I'd just be excited to watch the future of these four. And not saying that to tip my hand, but one of them out here just puts so many positives together, not only when you touch them and feel her down her spine, and then when you see that thing in motion and you just watch her silhouette and watch her dance across the ring. If you would, put a big round of applause as I get ready to go shake your champion's hand.
Champion middleweight goes to J.C. Falkenstein.
That's what's fun when all four of them are out here and you can analyze everything and you don't have to really go back and scratch your head because we studied them and looked at them and cussed them and discussed them amongst us and we're in agreement. And we thought it was close, but we like all of these out here quite a bit, but the one that just we keep gravitating towards in terms of quality and balance and putting more positives together than negatives. If you would help me congratulate this young lady, she'll be your reserve middle.
And your reserve champion goes to Addison Thompson. First class of heavyweights entering the ring. There should be 7 in this class. 7. Weaver Livestock is committed to helping you be the very best you can be. Stop by their booth between the Junior Barn and Stadium Arena to check out their full line of show supplies backed by industry experts. Weaver is devoted to fueling your enthusiasm for showing livestock with innovative products here at the National Western Stock Show.
Man, we get into these heavies, and it's certainly fun. You know, the power and everything gets into this class, and we have a lot to look at and discuss. And, man, we ended up on one that just grabs your attention, not only because of the pattern, just in terms of her silhouette and her balance, and she meets your hand with such a good top, and I believe she's still fresh. And when you truly look at them, and when I truly look at them and break them down and study them, I truly appreciate how this one comes from her shoulder into her forerib and has so much shape to that upper cage, and I just think it's so natural. We're not covering it with a bunch of white meat. I do believe that goat is pretty real and goes away and tracks wide and does a lot of things right. There's so many more positives than negatives in that one. Sweetheart, I think you brought us a really nice goat to look at. This goat in second, yeah, give her a big round of applause. This goat in second puts a lot of things together for me. I love when she gets this one set up. That silhouette is very hard not to draw your attention. But when you compare them to that painted up goat, I don't know if she's as bold in that upper rib cage as that female we led the class off with. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if she bases as wide in motion as that female we led the class off with. But I'm going to be done being picky on her because there are so many things I like. She's stout structured. She has plenty of feature from front to rear, and she's put together extremely well. I do believe where that goat beats the goat in third is she's more extended. She's better through that front end. She's more attractive, especially on that backside of that neck. I just think she does a better job right there. But this goat, if you want to see one that has a big top, you want to see one that handles with a good shape and curvature to that rib without being too far in her condition, this young man sticks a goat that has that. Very unique piece here in fourth. This is one that a lot of you could probably see from ringside, has a lot of ESTs that you can talk about. And those creatures are very hard to make, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that. To me, I don't know if I can handle that one structure. To square that one up on them front 2 feet. And I'm not saying square it up to make it any wider. To me, it's almost to the point where it's so wide, those front 2 feet push left and right on me, and I'd like to smooth that shoulder and get that to be a little more blended in that cavity. She wants to wing out, and when you watch her go in motion away from you, she does want to kind of curve that rear leg set. Now, I say that in a negative manner, but I'll tell you how extreme the pieces that she has are. And I know when you're trying to make things better and you're trying to make a farther advance, it takes extreme pieces, and that may be your piece. But for this class, I don't think there's enough balance and design for me to get it up any higher. Very similar with this goat. This is the goat that's just massive. I'm sorry, I might have had those two backwards in my head. This is the coarse one that is so massively constructed, so big-chested, so heavy-muscled, just too coarse for me. This one is so wide up front, it's just not smooth enough in that front shoulder and how she places it. I just need to balance her a little bit better. But she is so extreme in her muscle and in her bone work. Love the balance and pattern of your goat, sweetheart. Just in this class, we give up the power and dimension, especially right out of her shoulder and into her top. I just would wish there was more width. Goat coming out next right after that one. Love the length, the hip in this one. I love the spine. To me, I need you to be a little bit fresher, especially in our handle. But, sweetheart, you've done a great job all day, and I commend you. Nothing wrong with the goat here at the end. In this class, we give up the overall feature. I don't know if we're as stout and bold all the way through. Love the front end. Love the structural integrity you have. Just need to make this one a little stouter feature. How about a big round of applause for all those individuals in that class?
Results of class number 1 of the heavyweights. In 7th place, Keith Page. Afton McIntosh was 6th. Kinsey White was 5th. 4th place went to Caden Linton. 3rd to Dayton Morvet. 2nd will come back in for the champion drive of heavyweights, Kobe Scroggins. And 1st was Bristol Lee. Next in, class 2 of the heavyweights. Class 2 of the heavyweights, 8 in this class. Upon completion of this class, we will have the champion drive. Upon completion of champion drive, all the champions and reserves will come back in for the grand. Colorado Farm Show is one of the largest and oldest farm shows in the nation, and the tradition continues January 28th, 29th, and 30th at Island Grove Park in Greeley, Colorado. See the latest agricultural equipment, visit over 300 exhibitors, attend free seminars with more than 60 engaging speakers, and network to create long-lasting connections. For more info, go to coloradofarmshow.com.
Once again, this is really, really good, guys, in terms of just looking at quality livestock, and it doesn't necessarily apply just to the species, but let's stop and think, whether we're looking at cattle, hogs, lambs, goats, whatever it may be, we're still going to talk about skeletal build. We're going to talk about, in the show ring, some unique pieces, but we've got to try to put it all together into one package, and we tend to go a long ways in a certain trend one way, and then we come back, and it just keeps going back and forth. But someday we're going to find that middle ground, and we're going to make livestock just good built, that have some show ring appeal, that have enough natural thickness, that have balance and eye appeal. And I think some exhibitors here have done a very nice job of bringing those kind to us. I know how hard it is to breed this kind and to put these together, and then it's equally as difficult to manage and get them shown at this level. So I commend all these young people for where they're at on that. Let's talk about the goats in front of us. The one that wins the class, if you want to talk about a big upper rib, you want to talk about some body length, some extension, still some balance, and if you study that shoulder, she's wide-chested, yet she's not outside herself. She's big-footed, yet she's not coarse. She has all those things going the right direction. You ask her to go into motion, I think she does it very well. At times, I think she wants to push her top ever so slightly, maybe just a little fuller than ideal, and that's being very critical on one that's pretty cool. I like the young lady's goat in second a great deal as well. This was something we discussed between Cade and I really respect what Cade brings into this. We had the opportunity to judge a cattle show here on Monday, and I've never worked with anybody that evaluates skeleton and structure better than what Cade sees across species. Look at this goat right here. When we talk about one that goes into motion and pulls herself together, she does it well. When she has her loose on the chain, does she ease up ever so slightly out of her shoulder? She does, but I think that adds to her flexibility of spine and adds to her ability to get out and move. At times, I think she's ever so slightly a touch forward at the point of her shoulder, and that's being really critical because I think this one's pretty good. She's right there on the edge where she's wide enough without going outside herself. She's big top, she's big hip, she's got a lot of good in her. The outlier stands in third, no question. Black Betty here is pretty wild. When she came in showmanship, I thought, wow, here's something that's kind of unique. She's cool-fronted, she's elevated, she's skeletally correct in her kind. What I question, does she have enough muscle? I get my hands on her, she's massive out of her shoulder, she's big-topped, and she's big enough hip. So she's got all those things going for her. She doesn't have the leg hair, which takes away from her balance and takes away from her feature, but I tell you what, there's a lot of quality there, and that's a very unique kind of a breeding piece. Young lady, you've got something kind of special there. As we move down to the next one, we kind of joked with this young man. She doesn't have enough top or enough width coming out of her shoulder. She's massive as she comes out of her shoulder. Does she like the feed pan? Does she like to eat? I think she does. She's a little soft, maybe a little more body condition than where I would like to have them, but I'll tell you what, let's take that off her, and she's still a big top goat. She's still a structurally correct goat. She's beautiful up through her front end. She's good in her hip and hind leg. So there's not a lot of things to fault about her, young man. I think that's an awful good one, just a little heavier condition than where we ideally want to be. Coming next in line, here's an attractive goat. She's cool in her neck. She's cool in her shoulder placement. Maybe not as massive as she comes out of her shoulder into her forerib. Maybe not as massive down her top, but I think she has enough. She gets just a touch softer right there in her pastern from behind, but I think a really good goat in a lot of areas. Our young lady with the sparkly boots here, this goat's giving her a hard time. She gives her a handful. This goat has some rib cage, some body. Fundamentally, she's got growth, performance, all the things that we want. She's not as stout featured. She maybe doesn't have that show ring presence that some above her have, but I tell you what, I'd be pretty proud to own one like this. Young lady, you've got a nice goat. Next in line, we've got really a big featured goat here, and we talk about foot size and circumference of bone. All those things are there. I'll tell you what, young man, right here, this thing's as good as any of them in there. She's big-topped. She's big-loined. She gets a little jammed up in her front end. She wants to push her loin a little bit, and that's partially due just to the fact she has that much muscle. She wants to roll in her hip a little bit. But that has some ESTs to her, I think one to be proud of. Likewise, we go to the other extreme. You want a long neck, cool-looking one that's great in terms of her top line, her rear set to her hind leg. All those things are there. Let's just mass her up a little bit, and she moves up in class. Let's give these young people a nice round of applause, please.
Results of the second class of heavyweights. In 8th place, Peyton Thompson. 7th place went to Blake Bichelle. 6th, Laney Stephen. 5th place, Ashley Peters. Alex Van Ploeg was 4th. Afton McIntosh was 3rd. 2nd, and will be coming back in for the champion drive, Bristol Lee. And 1st in class and the winner of the heavyweight class was Cheyenne Brunkner. Division championship entering the ring. Division championship entering the ring. We'll do the grand drive for the females upon completion of this class. Grand and reserves out of each weight division come back in for the grand drive. Champion and reserve out of each weight division come back in for the grand drive.
Certainly haven't been disappointed in these heavies, and we have 4 of them out here again that certainly fit the mold for what you're looking for. If you like good quality females and ones that can go back into your herd and certainly be proud of and be front pasture type of females, I think all 4 of these are. And when you get them back out here and you break them down and you get to study them side by side, man, it really makes it fun to just sort quality livestock. And when you do it, and this is me being me, and happens to agree with. But to be honest with you, it's just me being me on the females that I like, and no matter if we're putting females back in our own herd or out in the cow pasture looking at heifers or whatever we're sorting females, it comes down to a couple things that I'll always revert back to, and there's one that just balances up for me. I think she's got a great look from the side. She looks like a female, and when you put your hands on her, you're certainly not disappointed. If you could, please, give me a big round of applause for these champion heavyweights.
Champion heavyweight went to Bristol Lee, and the reserve champion went to Cheyenne Brunker. Now, champion reserve come back in for the grand drive. Champion reserve lightweight, champion reserve middleweight, champion reserve heavyweight come back in for the grand drive. While we have a minute, ladies and gentlemen, there's still people watching for the grand drive. I want to thank Dale and Cade Hummel, been with us all day long. Appreciate all the respect that's shown each and every exhibitor. Thank you for all your hard work. Pleasure to have you here, guys.
It's an honor and a blessing to be out here and to be able to stand with Dale and talk livestock with Dale at this level is, to be honest with you, it's a dream come true. And, it'll mean more to me than you guys will ever know to be able to stand out here with him, because I can look out in this barn and I can look over into this corner, and that's where my family pinned for all those years that we came and showed. And I can look up into this bleacher and I can see my grandfather sitting up there in that corner watching me show all those years we came out here. And, a lot of sentimental value to me standing in this ring, and to get to be able to stand out here side by side with Dale and to relive all those memories that I look up and I see. Man, it just truly touches me deep down in my soul, and gives me a tremendous feeling of honor and privilege to be able to do that. And I hope you guys that are showing, you kids that have been in and out of the ring, I hope you understand the sacrifices that the families go through to get here. It's not easy. And if you've seen your supper bill or your breakfast bill or your lunch bill, it's not cheap to travel. It's not cheap to get into these hotels. I promise you, your team that got you here has sacrificed a lot to get you to this level. And it means a lot to me to see families that decide to put their disposable income into the future of agriculture. It's not just a livestock show we're at, but what we're truly doing is making the next generation of agricultural enthusiasts. And if you don't believe there's people out there attacking our industry, I'm positive you can walk down the main street of this town and find many people that want to tear this apart for all the wrong reasons, because they don't know what it truly is. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and one of you, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, feeders, breeders, helpers. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you guys for helping getting our next generation of agriculture enthusiasts here. It truly means more than you'll ever know to me. I'm not going to talk the goats. My voice is tired. Dale beat me up on Monday. I had a bunch of sales this past weekend to work, and my voice is strained, and I'm not going to lie. We have talked to the livestock through and through. As good as the livestock have been, I think our showmen have been better. I think the way that they've interacted with us truly shows me that they've been raised right. The yes sirs and no sirs and thank yous, and you can see disappointment, sure. Am I disappointed when my kids get beat? Sure, you're dang right, because you put a lot of effort and a lot of heart into this. You should be upset because it shows that you care. You shouldn't be upset where you take it out on somebody else. But disappointment just shows me that you have a lot of passion. One more time, guys. I'm privileged to be here. I thank you. I'm going to go out and shake your champion, Doe's hand at the National Western Stock Show.
Grand Champion Wether Doe goes to J.C. Falkenstein.
Guys, I couldn't put it in any better words than where Cade put it. It's been a pleasure to work with Cade, and for that I thank you for the National Western and what they're doing out here. Thank you for supporting the youth livestock industry. All of you ringside, the support that you give by clapping for these kids and getting them to this point, it's all wonderful. Unbelievable set of goats out here. I'm not going to talk any of them individually. We just named that champion, but I can assure you, I've been doing this quite a while, breeding goats and trying to make them better and trying to make them look like what we have right here, and it's hard. It's really hard. Every aspect of it is. It's hard to feed them. It's hard to manage them. I want to give credit to everybody that's involved behind the scenes, because this was a pretty unique set. There's a couple of them. I'm going to go ahead and name our reserve, and we can go 3, 4, 5 deep, all of them out here. Very, very unique creatures. One last time, congratulations. I'll shake the hand of our reserve.
Your reserve champion, your reserve grand champion, Junior Wether Doe, goes to Brock Morvet.